It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over. Columbia, how you doing? Roger, setting up the flag now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of the TKW podcast. I'm your host, Sean Geddes, with my co-host, Dean Joanna. Dean, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. 2 wins in a row on a back-to-back, no less.
On a back-to-back and on a West Coast back-to-back in Utah and in Denver for the third time in 30 years. Only like that we've gone 2-0 on that. I got that stat from my homie Brownsville earlier. I was like, wow, that's kind of nuts. 1992. But yeah, really, really high vibes in that. Won in Denver for the first time in 16 years. Excellent game all around. The guys have been playing much better defense on this road trip. It looks like this team meeting has, hey, even for the temporary factors of it, has really sparked something. And so hopefully those temporary factors are more permanent and, are lasting moving on. But, where are you at as far as like your pulse or like your feelings toward this team right now?
So this is the best I've felt so far this year, I would say for sure. That closing lineup that the Knicks went to, I wish that RJ could have been a part of it, but the way the game was going, it makes sense that he wasn't. But that effort from Julius Randle, it changes the entire outlook of the team, the entire outlook of the season. It's not just, I think he finished with 31 points and he was definitely on offensively. But that effort on defense, it's repeatable. That's not something that was luck. That's not something that can't happen again. I've been seeing you saying it. Like, you knew that he was capable of showing this much effort. You knew that he was capable of defending like this. And so it's not a shock to see it, but we want to see it more often. And if we do, it's going to translate to wins. He's a very talented player when he plays with that kind of fire. I think it's something really special. What he did on defense all night, and especially in the fourth quarter, was special.
Yeah, very special. And yeah, like you said, I know that he's capable of it. In 2020, 2021, I feel like that's the difference of what made us such a good team and why we were top defense in the league and, why we were able to win so many games. And it's just like, and now people talk about this roster, and there's been a lot said about this roster recently. This is a much better roster than we had 2 years ago. Like, I think that we can all agree with that. I mean, Cam Reddish is, love Reggie Bullock, really nice guy. Cam Reddish is a better basketball player. RJ is a better version of himself than he was 2 years ago. Hopefully we get back to that production. These past six games have been very, very rough. But before that, he was for the 7 games prior, before the OKC game, he was scoring around 24 points a game, shooting almost 50% from the field and shooting over 40% from three. Getting to the line. So hope if we get back to that version of RJ and he's as locked in as everybody else and Julius. And I feel like it also is infectious throughout the team, like that energy that Julius played with, because when people talk about our roster currently and they like, romanticize our defensive backcourt back then. Like, oh, we had Alfred Payton and Reggie Bullock and they were more built for defense. And Reggie Bullock was a good defender. Like he was, he wasn't some like super lockdown guy. He got 40 on his head a lot. Like, like he got toasted a good amount. A lot of guys he couldn't guard. A lot of guys he wasn't very great with smaller guys like Trae Young and stuff like that. But he gave his effort defensively. He was always locked in. Alfred Payton was not like a plus defender while he was here, and I need I need that narrative to go away. I need it to stop. It's bothering me. As somebody who watched the basketball games, I just need us to people will be so critical of everything else that everyone else does, from much better players, and won't acknowledge certain things that certain guys doing, and they'll glamorize things in past tense. And now all of a sudden our roster is not good enough because we had Alfred Payton back then. That sounds crazy to me. And so I just think that this team is very capable. And if Julius is playing that infectious, like even Julius said that Jalen said to him, he had to dunk that after the way Julius dove on the floor in the Denver game. And it's like, like that's, and when Julius dove on the floor and Jalen dunked that, I knew we were going to win the game. Like I felt fully confident that we were going to win the game. It was just like, yeah, this is the energy, the passion. I think that translates from one end of the floor to the other, because honestly, Julius's offensive game in Utah, he didn't have a great game offensively, but the defense was better effort. Yesterday, the defensive effort was phenomenal all game pretty much. And, he came out hot for sure. But like you said about his defense, there not being anything that couldn't be replicated, the same way for his offensive game that night. I mean, 11 for 21, that's good. 52% from the field isn't like, insane. Like that's not something that Julius doesn't do, you know? And he was very efficient. And then 3 for 10 from three, like that's not like a sniper. Like when Julius went 8 for 13 in Minnesota, it was like, okay, we're not gonna get this every night, but it's a good thing we're getting it tonight. 3 for 10 is not like some kind of wild, and he got to the line a lot, but he didn't even shoot that well from the line. He was 9 for 13, which isn't bad, but it's not like exceptional. Like this game could have been even better. And so while he's not going to have 34 and 11 every night, if he brings that kind of energy, he can make that kind of impact every night. I fully believe it. And like you said, with Julius Randle making that kind of impact, we win a lot more games. We're a much better team. And like some of the things where we started to like a bad defensive team, suddenly we can lock up and everybody like he's an engine. We saw him be an engine to a team that got a home playoff series, hosted a playoff series, and it wasn't as talented as this one. And he second team All NBA, like he earned everything about that. He I think he's very capable. I understand the frustrations. I've been frustrated. I'm not saying that all of a sudden now, but it's just like if he does this consistently moving forward, I'm good and I'm excited. Like I'm ready. I will. If there's one thing I'll do, I'll start a dialogue. I will say a lot of things if Julius Randle continues to play like this. I will think the sky is the limit for this team. If we get this out of Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson has been phenomenal. Like just very steady. I think at this point he's so good that people are taking it for granted, and that's a beautiful thing to have. And so like he's just been really poised, down the stretch of games, keeping us organized, making big plays when they got to be made, making big shots, setting guys up, pushing the pace. I've been really pleased with Jalen Brunson. And then I can't say enough about my guy, Emmanuel Quickly. There's just so much that I'm excited about right now, man. We've been trying to tell people for a while, Quick is a very good defender. Nobody wanted to hear it. Quick is a very good defender, and he just continues to excel at that end. And at this point, like I said, I will start a dialogue. I'm ready to jump out the window and call Emmanuel Quickly one of the better defenders in the NBA. Like it's just so textbook. Like everything from like the fundamentals of it to the ability, the foot speed, the way he uses his length, the way he plays the passing lanes, the way he can wall up under the basket, or the way that he was able to wall up and contest at the perimeter. Like he's a high IQ defender. Emmanuel Quigley's done an excellent job defensively. He's had 3 like really, really solid games in a row recently. And I'm loving it. It's like everybody's kind of starting to see the impact that he has. Obi has been excellent. I love the fact that we closed with Obi Randle last night. That made me so happy. And, I got to give credit to Tibbs on that. I know that people hate those words, but I mean, he closed with Obi Randle, and it was working, and he allowed it to. The 9-man rotation has looked good so far. Evan Fournier is no longer playing. How do we not start with that? We're irresponsible. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. How are you? Like, there's so many things going on, but Evan Fournier is not playing basketball, and I'm overjoyed.
Evan Fournier is not playing basketball. I think that's been helping the Knicks tremendously on defense, especially because it seems like the few minutes that he was still getting are going to Emmanuel Quickly. And like you were just touching on, he's a phenomenal defender. It used to be that people would say, oh, he's too small, say all kinds of things as to why he wasn't or could not be a good defender. It wasn't true at the time. He always had the effort, the length, the footwork. Now he's really putting it together. He's one of the better defenders on the Knicks. One of the better defenders I've watched in the NBA this year. I've seen very few mistakes from him. So I'm totally on board with that. And something that I think is super important, of course, is that Obi Toppin closed the game, but not just the fact that he closed the game. It wasn't like Obi was on an insane heater and that's how he earned his way into that finishing lineup. It was just the lineup that made the most sense for the moment. I can't recall another time where I felt like Tibbs put the exact right 5 players on the court. And even taking Obi out with a little less than a minute left for Jericho Sims. I mean, I'm Obi's biggest fan, but I understood that. And boy, did that pay off the way Jericho finished the game with that possession guarding Jamal Murray with his effort all night, by the way. Jericho Sims was fantastic. And so I think with Randle, we want to see Randle thrive. It's not Randle versus Obi, but that universe has kind of been created by Tibbs by him not being willing to play them together. So as a fan, you kind of have to think, all right, well, if Obi's going to play, it has to come at the expense of Randle. But it doesn't, and that's never actually been the case. And the fact that he was willing to play Obi over Hartenstein, who you would think is just ahead of Obi in the pecking order, And the fact that he would play him over Jericho Sims, who was also a traditional center who was having a great game, it tells you that he was valuing that fit on offense. And so my biggest priority right now for the Knicks is getting the most possible out of, number one, Jalen Brunson, having the floor a little more spread for Jalen Brunson because he is, to me, the game changer in the clutch. And then also a positive environment for Randall to thrive. You know, when Randall's doing what he does when he's going, it's just a lot more tenable when he's got more spacing next to him. And Obi is no longer just a theoretical spacer. Obi is knocking down these shots, and he's extremely willing to take them. That's what matters with a floor spacer. Is he willing to shoot it? So and I haven't even mentioned Cam Reddish. This really is the first time all year that there have been this many things to be excited about. Cam Reddish has been playing within himself. He's been starring in his role. I love Cam Reddish attacking the basket. Just the way he goes straight through defenders, uses his length beautifully. And I was happy to see him in that closing lineup. And it looks like he's shoring up that starting spot. I think we're going to see him there for a while.
And that, like you said about Cam attacking the basket, that left-hand finish with like the inside hand when he went baseline was so crazy. I was like, nah, dude, it's really different. And, you know, that's like, I was crying for it. You were crying for what we were saying in the preseason, but all of it, that like there were just a lot of better options to be out there in that other wing spot. You know, between Grimes isn't healthy, Reddish, and we're seeing it like having another, like Cam also provides shooting. He can shoot, he's a threat to shoot the ball, but he's an excellent defender. Like all over the floor, he's just playing great defense. Like, and he can defend 1 through 4. I saw Tibbs talking about that as well. That was cool. He was talking about that, I think, both guys. But Cam can defend 1 through 4. He can switch. He's like, you know, he's got length. He's got really active hands. I mean, I feel like Cam has a bigger defensive impact than people even realize sometimes, because sometimes the ball just gets deflected away, and like, you know, it doesn't even like it's so subtle, but it's Cam. Like he's just always active. His hands are always active. And he's really been a great addition to the starting lineup. And beyond that, he can also get to the basket, like you said. Like he's a threat to get by somebody, and he can bend the defense. And I believe that's also helped ball movement. And like now that he's kind of settling into that role, I look forward to seeing like getting accustomed to getting the touches he needs, or like, you know, also us getting opportunities to allow him to push and transition. Like when a lot of times he'll run the wing and he'll get ignored. So I hope one of the things at the team meeting was, hey, like let's advance the ball to me when I'm running, because I think that's a big aspect of how he can help this team, because he does finish really well and he's always out in transition, and he uses length well in transition as well. So I've been really excited about Cam. You're right. There is so much to be excited about, and seeing Tibbs not only try something, but like you said, actually pick the right lineup. Like those were the guys who were supposed to be on the floor last night. That was what would have worked. And a lot of times he doesn't adjust game to game, or he doesn't just like he'll say things like, "Oh, the game will tell us what to do." Like even before this game, he was quoted saying, "You know, is there a way for Obi to get more minutes?" And he was just like, "Oh, the game will tell us what to do." And I almost threw my phone, and I quoted it from the TKW page, and I was like, "Liar! You're a liar!" Because like it really felt like, you know, you're lying to us. You always say, "Oh, the game will do," but last night he actually let the game tell him what to do. And, you know, I definitely believe in being vocal about that, because we're very vocal about when he doesn't do it. So I hope that just like Julius, I hope he continues to do so. I believe he played RJ a little too much yesterday. Not a little too much. I believe RJ shouldn't have played at all yesterday, to be honest. But I know that RJ wants to play through everything, and I love that about him. I loved it more in the Jazz game. It was like, hey, man, you're really like dogging it out, and like you're trying, you're still impacting the game. Like, you know, getting to the line, you know, you're doing a good job still, even though you're missing the free throws. You know, it's still a bad game, but like he impacted the game. Last night he wasn't able to impact the game, and you know, coming off of the game in Utah where he's clearly sick. Like I think, you know, like he's on the sideline with the mask. People have been talking about him looking sluggish overall. I think he clearly looks more sluggish right now. I believe he has way less lift. And even the fact that, like, I mean, come on, RJ was literally just shooting over 40% from 3, and all of a sudden he can't hit the ocean from the shore. He hadn't been missing free throws like that. Like he was better at the free line. I'm still missing some, but that 8 for 14 night was more than I've seen RJ miss free throws all season. And so I'm inclined to believe, and maybe I just like RJ. Hey, but I'm inclined to believe that the sickness has something to do with it. And, you know, that's a viable excuse. One game, maybe I'll give it to you. But that second game, you can't get that. I think he just shouldn't have played. And whether it was RJ making that decision or Tibbs realizing he didn't have it, some people were under the impression that Tibbs was being spiteful and spiting us for complaining about RJ being pulled from the OKC game. because for me personally, it's just like if you didn't fit, I don't believe RJ deserves to be put against OKC at all, especially not Fournier. But hey, Fournier is a thing of the past, thankfully. But it's just like if you're willing to pull him that night and not willing to pull him last night, like last night, I felt like RJ. So I'm glad that he didn't close with them. I love RJ, but he didn't. He shouldn't have closed last night for the good of the team. And so I hope that he's currently bathing in Theraflu as we speak, and drinking the finest herbs and teas, and that he spends the entire day tomorrow doing so. Well, tomorrow this will come out, so it'll be Thursday. But I hope that when we get on, like not by the Friday with the Warriors, I hope he's ready. I thought it would be really tough to. He played 37 minutes against Utah. He came back, mile high. Everybody talks about how difficult it is playing mile high conditions the day after, like in the back-to-back, especially, and being sick doing so. I just didn't think it was I thought it was a perfect storm for him to, really hurt his numbers, and the conversations get stupid. But hey, Friday he'll be back. I hope he doesn't embarrass me on national television. I'm riding with him regardless. But yeah, with RJ back and forth, RJ getting back into the swing he seemed to be getting into, with Jalen playing the way he is and Julius with this energy. Jericho, like you said, Jericho is phenomenal. I mean, he's really different, man. Like the play where he switched on to Jamal Murray was spectacular, but like he had another play where he jumped out on, he like blitzed Bones Highland on the perimeter and moved his feet with them. And then Derrick Rose came over to help, and they swung it, and he got out to the corner to beat the swing pass over there. And then the shot went up, and he went to the basket, and he tapped the rebound to himself over the rim. And it's just like, this is a very special play. Like, this is a very special play from a very special player. So shout out to Jericho Sims as well.
Jericho Sims jumps so high on uncontested rebounds. It's absolutely delightful. A lot of the time it's not necessary, but you'll hear Mike Breen say, like, Sims skying for that rebound. It's no one's around. He's just showing off the bunnies, and like he's got them. And Jericho Sims is spectacular. I'm looking forward to a dunk contest finale later on this year between Obi and Jericho Sims. I hope they're the co-winners of the dunk contest. But that would be fire. I don't know if teammates have ever made it to the final. That would be something nice to look into. But I think that I had two best dunkers in the league for my money, honestly. I like seeing big men dunk it. So there's just so much positive to talk about with this team. We haven't mentioned Quentin Grimes yet. We hope to see Quentin Grimes if he's healthy. If Quentin Grimes isn't healthy, and that's the reason that he's not playing, that's understood. If that's the reason why it's a 9-man rotation and not a 10-man rotation, because Grimes isn't quite right, that's okay. That's reasonable. I don't want to see Quentin Grimes in garbage time, because if you're telling me he's healthy enough to play, I don't think that's the way at all to get Quentin Grimes reacclimated. But the rotation right now makes a lot of sense. I thought last night was like one of the best rotations Tibbs has ever run. And even in that game, he did the very questionable handling of a sick RJ Barrett. So it seems like there's always going to be something. But like I wanted to reiterate that when Emmanuel Quickley and Cam Reddish are on the court together, that's the most confidence that I have in the Knicks defense. The pressure that they apply, and then at the same time, Obi and Randall together. The question has always been defense and maybe even more so rebounding. But the thing is, it's a completely different defensive look. Like when Obi and Randall are out there together, even though it's been limited minutes over the last couple of years, they play with a ton of energy on defense. And so when those guys are on the court together and you got Brunson and you have Cam, Quickley, or RJ, any two of those three guys, once you secure that rebound, I have so much confidence in the transition to follow it. Like it's not a center collecting the rebound, outlet pass, and then we run it up slow offense like we used to do last year with Alec Burks in the fourth quarter, and that was our downfall so many times. Now I have like, all right, we got the stop. Now I'm excited. It's not like we got the stop, but now can we score with 6 seconds left on the shot clock going the other way? Like, no, I see Obi dashing out. If Randall's running hard to the paint in his own right, so much trust in Quickley and Brunson as decision makers. And then, this new secret weapon of Cam Reddish in transition is extremely long strides. He's so fluid in transition. There's a lot to be excited about. If Julius Randle can repeat this kind of effort, and if Obi can close more often, it's not going to be every night. I understand that. I don't want to be unrealistic. But if the game calls for it, like Tibbs touched on the other day, yesterday, if the game calls for it, I hope he's out there. So more Obi, more of this positive environment for Randall and Brunson and hopefully RJ soon to really get going as individual scorers. I'm really excited about what this team could do, and they're sitting above 500. For all the hoopla so far, the Knicks are 8-7.
8-7 indeed. 8-7 indeed. And for this West Coast swing that could have derailed the season, we are 2-0 on it. And so, I really want that Warriors game, man. I really want that Warriors game. And I think it's gettable. I mean, I'm interested to see how we handle guarding Steph Curry. Like, I don't know. I feel like we're going to start the game with Cam on him probably. I doubt it. He hasn't put Brunson on those guys. I don't think he would try with Steph. So I think we're going to see Cam start on him. And I really hope that we get, the good RJ back. And after that, I feel good. I feel really good about that game, and I need it. Also, on top of that, I feel like Emmanuel Quickly versus Steph is going to be a very interesting matchup to see for those minutes. And I feel like I'm looking forward to seeing Quick guarding Steph, like as well as he's been playing defensively. I know that Steph is, Steph, and Steph is playing some of the best basketball ever right now. Like, he's just amazing. And so, but I'm looking forward to seeing. I feel like that'll make Quick step up. He's been playing really well lately. I don't know, man. I'm at a really excited point with this team, and that's good, especially considering how we felt after the Oklahoma City game. And I feel like it was just a very dark cloud over the fan base. I was fed up. You were fed up. Everyone was fed up. The entire aura over the team was fed up. And so, once again, this team meeting, hopefully these effects are lasting, because we've been reaping the benefits so far. It's been enjoyable.
Yeah, I think another thing to watch for on Friday is I think the Knicks can really bother Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole hasn't been having an incredible start to the season, but he's a fantastic offensive player. And he's prone to turnovers. And I think that Emmanuel Quickly, Cam Reddish, if Cam Reddish ends up on him at all, I think that they can really neutralize Jordan Poole. So we'll see how that plays out. I always like matching up with the Warriors. I don't know if I'm delusional right now, but I think that the Knicks have played them pretty well the last few years. Even in losses, I feel like that's usually an exciting matchup. So, and Steph has been playing absurdly well. I'm looking forward to that one. I think that we'll probably see virtually the same rotation. I don't think after taking both games on a back-to-back that we'll see much change. The closing lineup will always be a variable. When is Mitch back, by the way? Do you have any info on that?
I don't. And so initially when it first happened, I thought they said around 10 days. But that would mean that he's coming back now. Like, is what that would, and I haven't heard anything about Mitch coming back. So I'm not sure. But I'm interested to see. I hope he does come back soon. And I'm interested to see what will happen with not only the center minutes, but Obi's minutes as well. Like, I wonder how Tibbs will adjust to that. I feel like, what do you want to see happen in that regard as far as the center minutes? I know we all want Obi to play more, but what do you want to see happen with the center minutes when Mitch comes back?
So I'm very fascinated by this, because the fact that Tibbs would close with Obi last night ahead of Hartenstein and ahead of Sims makes me think that it's possible for Obi to close with all of the centers healthy. Because we haven't seen Tibbs blindly stick to Mitchell Robinson in closing lineups over the last couple of years. So if Obi can earn it over the other two centers, I think that he can earn it over Mitchell Robinson on an individual game basis as well. I'm a huge fan of Mitchell Robinson. I'm seeing a whole lot of, like, why did we bother paying Mitch because of how well Jericho Sims is playing? Not a fan of that take. I'm a big fan of Jericho Sims, but I think the take should probably be, did we need Isaiah Hartenstein? Is Isaiah Hartenstein a luxury when we already had Mitch and Jericho Sims? So I don't know what's going to happen. I can't see Hartenstein getting removed from the rotation. It's not going to be Mitch out of the rotation. Unfortunately, Jericho Sims very well may be a casualty. Now, this is a crowded roster. You could say crowded, you could say deep. Either way, I think it's a good problem to have. But I think Mitch will reclaim his starting spot. I think the closing lineup is very much in flux. Interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, I too think that Obi can definitely still close, because, like you said, he hasn't been married to Mitch closing. It's just a matter of, I know that right now we have we have Hart and Sims playing. And, it's normally Hart with Sims backing him up. And I'm just wondering, when Mitch comes back, does Sims stop playing? or does Hart stop playing? Or, like he hasn't really used Hart for like, his passing and things like, or his floor spacing. And Jericho has been really impactful when he's been out there. And so it's just like, do you go and take this guy who's been really impactful and start giving him 0 minutes again and making him situational, And also now how many, like with Hart and with Sims, it's a little easier for him to give them, maybe 15 to 20 minutes and let Obi take some of those. And it's like when he's giving the minutes to Mitch and also giving them to Hart, how many is he going to give to Obi? I think what makes all of this the easiest, though, is just Obi being the first big off the bench. I want to see that regardless of what happens when Mitch comes back. I want to see that right now when we, like, no matter what, because what usually happens is Hart, if it's Hart, then Sims comes in and he comes in for Hart. I feel like Obi should come in for the center. If he's not going to start, okay, cool, especially once Mitch gets back, cool. But he should come in for the center. You should go Obi Randall for a couple minutes, and then the center should come in for Randall. And I feel like that automatically gives you a couple of extra minutes in each half for Obi, regardless of whether or not he ends up in the closing lineup. Like it shouldn't be, hey, Obi plays 14 to 15 minutes a game, but if he closes, he might get 20 to 22. It should be like Obi's at least at 18 to 22 minutes. And 18 is already low end. But it's like he should be at 18 to 22 minutes, and then he can get up to 25 in the closing lineup. Like we should start to prioritize him more because he's been very productive. And like you said, defensively, Obi and Randall are flying around out there. And it's like if we're all locked in and playing with that kind of defensive energy, I think, you got to put the best version of the team out there on the floor. And I'm glad that he's starting to adapt, and I hope he continues to adapt even when Mitch comes back and continues to adapt beyond that when necessary. Like you said, going into this game, we'll probably say the same thing as the last two. But yeah, that's how it should work when you've won 2 in a row. Things seem to be working, and you're finally clicking and getting into a groove. Like, you shouldn't change much, but you also still from that, like, night to night, in the Utah loss, this wasn't the same group closing. So, adjustment necessary, and don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah, and speaking of adjustments, one that I'm really enjoying is Brunson and RJ checking out at around the 6-minute mark for Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickley. It helps Quickley get a lot more minutes and also allows Brunson and RJ both to play with that second unit. That lineup with Brunson, Quickley, RJ, Obi, and Hartenstein, I think that lineup has gotten some run together recently. It's very effective. We've always loved RJ with the second unit. It's an ability for him to play a little bit more freely, a little bit of faster pace. The Knicks are 10th in pace, by the way, unless I misinterpreted a stat that I saw earlier, but that's a really positive development as well. They're definitely playing faster. And so Tibbs has been getting more creative with the lineup than I think we've ever seen before. It's not perfect. I don't think we can expect perfect, but he deserves credit there. And as long as the team is playing hard, I've seen some people suggest that the team has quit on Tibbs. I don't think there's merit to that. Like, this Knicks team, for all of the complaining that we've done as a fan base, all of the gripes that we've had, we never hear of a player speaking out against Tibbs in back channels, throwing any kind of shade in a post-game press conference toward Tibbs, really. Everyone seems pretty happy. The same thing goes with Julius Randle. Like, when we're unhappy with Julius Randle's body language and things like that, it still seems that the team, all the players on the team, really get along. So I think that that's an underrated aspect of this team, that if they're all buying in on the court, I think the fact that, like, the group does gel, just as people, as teammates, they have chemistry. Even if it's not the perfect basketball fit at all times, I think that it's there. And I think that they have fun. There's a good vibe around this team right now. So if they can come out of this road trip 3-2, 4-1, dare I say 5-0, the season's off to a good start. It has not been an objectively bad start of the season. I think some people are tainted by thinking about the long-term outlook of the team. Like, we think, oh, we're not great enough to be great. We're not bad enough to get Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. And so where are we? But where we are right now is pretty good. It's a pretty good team that has potential to be a very good team, but can only take it a game at a time.
I agree. I think the most upsetting parts have been the bad losses. And I think that's what has people soured. And because, today people are like, oh, meaningless wins in November. And I was just like, what exactly is a meaningless win in November? What exactly is a meaningless win at any time? Because when you get to the end of the year, and you're jostling for playoff position, every single game counts with seeding and playing, nobody's going to say, hey, that win was in November. It doesn't mean anything. And so I'm really not sure why people keep saying that. It's pretty annoying. But yeah, there are no meaningless wins. And where we're at is a pretty solid place to be at. I'm excited. I'm hoping for a 5-0 road trip. I think the Warriors are beatable. And, of course, the Suns game is tough. But no matter what, at the end of that trip, I want revenge against the Thunder. And I also want revenge for the Warriors. Like, it's a national television game. The last time we were on national TV, we got embarrassed. My friends were laughing at me. It was a really bad night. We scored 85 points. We got embarrassed by Edmund Sumner, who, to my confession, I didn't know who he was. Never heard of him until that game. That rarely happens to me. And so to see him killing us on national TV, we're losing by 30 to the crosstown rival, is disgusting. So I want us to clean up our national image and show people the version, show people what we saw last night. Like that team we saw last night, this team I can fight for, this team I can be proud of, and I hope that's what they bring tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a final score prediction for Friday? I think you're going to predict the win.
Yeah, I'm definitely predicting a win. You know me. Final score prediction, I'm going to say we've been playing pretty good defense lately. Steph Curry is Steph Curry, though, but I feel like we might defend everybody else pretty well. So I'm going to go with 108, 114 Knicks.
I was going to go 111, 103 Knicks.
111, 103 Knicks. I like it. I like it. That sounds good. I like yours better. There's less stress. 8-point win.
Yeah. All right. So 15 games in. Knicks are a game above 500. Hopefully the next time we check back in with another podcast, they'll be even further above 500. It's always all we can hope for ever, really. And so,
Truly.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Don't let the emotions of one game carry over too much into the next one. I believe that we should not fan from the sunken place. A lot of people can find the most miserable outlook for any game. Like they can be, if you win against a bad team, it doesn't count. I want to see it on a good team, blah, blah, blah. If somebody's not playing, they talk about who wasn't playing. Like we just won in Denver for the first time in 16 years, bro. Like tap into that version of yourself as a Knicks fan that may have watched Jamal Crawford hit that game winner. And remember how long ago that was. And think about everything in your life that's happened since then. And just smile for a little minute. We've come 16 years is a long time not to win in the building. And so we got that win. We started off 2-0. I feel like there's a way to look at everything. And so, we in Utah and in Denver, we beat teams who hadn't lost at home yet all year. And we're pretty deep into the season for teams to not have lost at home. So we won in tough environments. We did it on back-to-back nights. And, we're seeing the things that we asked for. That's another thing I want to say. For me, some people were complaining about what I was saying about Randall today, or just saying, oh, I'm not sold, or I'm not going to celebrate that. I'm not going to applaud a man for the basic things. And I'm just me personally, I can't beg a guy for effort and energy. And then when he gets it, pretend it doesn't matter. And so if I begged you for effort and energy, I'm going to celebrate the effort and energy I receive, because if not, what am I doing? And so, yes, I wanted to be consistent. We all wanted to be consistent. No one here is saying, all right, there we go. 2 games of Julius Randle effort, 1 dive on the floor. He's back forever. But, I feel like if we should enjoy what we saw, we should appreciate what we saw, and we should try to hope for the same moving forward. And if we get it, then great. And if we don't, then you can go back to talking about, I'll be right back to saying I need it. But, appreciate what we have while we have it.
Yeah. Now, if I have one final thing to say, it would be for people to take a wider view with RJ Barrett. I think everyone knows that RJ Barrett isn't going to continue to play like he played the last couple of games all season. There's no world where that's going to happen. And I think people are so frustrated with RJ Barrett's struggles that they might be telling themselves, all right, well, even when he starts playing better, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember how bad he was in the middle of November. And I'm never going to believe it again when RJ is looking like a star. But there will come a time where RJ looks like a star again. And at that time, I want everyone to know that it's okay not to stand on your negative takes from the past. It's okay if you were a prisoner of the moment for a short while. I've been pretty low on what I've seen from RJ Barrett recently, but he's going to have another phenomenal stretch. You know that it's coming. You know that you're not going to be able to resist getting excited about it. So just try to keep the context in mind. He's a 22-year-old. He's new season, couple new teammates. He's sick, whatever. A little bit of added muscle that he put on, throwing off his equilibrium a little bit. I think RJ is going to hit a stride at some point and never look back, which he quite literally did last year. From like January 2nd to the end of the season, he averaged 24 points a game. That wasn't a long time ago. So I don't know how people are convincing themselves that player is somehow lost and that the Knicks need to just be investing, their effort elsewhere on the roster.
Thank you for that. When I say it, everybody says I'm being a homer. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good show to me. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great.
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to the TKW podcast channel. You can find plenty here. Please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. The Knicks Wall. Please make sure you follow us on Twitter if you haven't. We're 200 followers away from 50,000. That's going to be a pretty cool day. So if you're not yet following us on Twitter, I'm not sure how you found the podcast, but we appreciate you, and follow us on Twitter and also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. We're everywhere. Wherever you consume your content, please follow us. And until next time, you guys have a great one. So on behalf of myself and myself. I
don't know how to respond to that, but on behalf of me, Dean, my co-host Shaun, we'll just go back and forth here until
there we go. I like that.
Kicks us off. But yeah.
All right, you guys have a great one. Enjoy, and